And so I would say stop going for low value backlinks.
Sure.
Certainly tier 2, tier 3, they can be helpful, but you want to focus on quality over quantity.
Welcome to SEO Unveiled. Today I've got a wonderful guest, Harrison Jordan. Harrison is a lawyer at his own practice, Harrison Jordan Law, where he assists clients in the cannabis, psychedelics, and NFT sectors. It's a super hot industry right now. He's also the president of Alan Aldous, a cannabis and psychedelics digital marketing and PR company. And he ranks for things like Cannabis Lawyer Ontario and one of his clients, Upper Room Clinics, for Toronto PRP and a whole bunch of other amazing services. He's got a background in writing and journalism. He's got a fresh take on content, and I'm really, really excited to have him here. Thanks, Harrison, for joining us.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah. So, one thing I typically like to understand, because you've got a really cool background, like how did you get into SEO in the first place?
Well, I've always been a fan of internet and technology, and it's something that I think a lot of people are interested in, but there's some mystique to it. How do I get on Google? How do I get up the search rankings? And as someone that has a law practice, it was very important for me in driving new clients to my law practice. I'm a young lawyer, and you don't start off with a pocketbook of clients that you can just call up. And so I've always been interested in SEO even before that. But when I started my law practice, then it really became a matter of I need to know this stuff, and I need to get on top of it, and I need to make sure that on a continuous, regular basis, I'm on top of best practices so that I can reach people and provide them valuable information, and then everyone wins.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty interesting industry to come from, because I know from my background that some of the legal terms are some of the highest cost ones in Google Ads, and some of the most valuable ones for search, just because if someone has kind of a unique kind of case, it might be worth a lot for an attorney to be able to take that case and help that client get value from their situation to recoup some of the issues that they've had. So I definitely understand that it's such a good, it's essentially just a valuable industry. So it's like good to have that perspective of this is where clients come from. Clients come from search a lot in the legal industry. And so why not understand a lot more about search and how to get those clients? Everything that I know about like the legal industry in the past comes from referrals and a lot of expertise in the industry and just people being in it for a very long time. So I think taking the SEO perspective is a different way to essentially set up your own practice. So congrats on figuring that out so early on.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great. And you also want to make sure that you have social proof. So if you have reviews, well, first of all, you want to make sure you're getting clients to write reviews on a regular basis on your Google profile. And so when you combine good content that provides good value with social proof of people saying, "Hey, I hired this guy, I really liked him," it can be a great thing, and it's certainly helped sustain my legal practice over the years.
Yeah, I feel like it helps provide transparency to kind of the referral-based business of the past, where it's hard to really know transparency-wise. I think that it's pretty important. Those reviews are helpful. Being able to kind of highlight your experience with an attorney, it's just kind of funny because I feel like attorneys sometimes get a bad rap, but reviews I think would really help improve that. And so that's a really good point. I think. The other thing is what I'd like to really understand, the tactics that you're typically using to try to improve rank, and how did you first start kind of getting good rankings? Because you talk about a lot of different terms that you ranked for, and maybe we can start there. What kind of tools and tactics are you looking at to try to rank?
So I'm creating valuable content first and foremost. And from there, trying to get as many organic backlinks as possible. whether that's from an industry blog or that's from a newspaper writing on a related subject. I even look for HARO opportunities. Those are help a reporter out. And there's some other websites now, in addition to HARO, there's one called Quoted, QWOTED, which I'm on the free plan. They have a free plan and they have a paid plan, which is a bit costly, but it's probably worth it. I'd probably get more backlinks, but I use the free version of it. And so there are those sorts of tools, as well as on Twitter, there are journalists that are looking for requests. And so those are good to build thought leadership. And sometimes you even get a backlink from it, and it can be a very high, powerful website when it comes to the search metrics. But I think content is king. And, when it comes to tactically, there are different tactics that people take. I try to go for guest posts where I'm posting very valuable content somewhere and having that link back to my website, either to my homepage or to a post that I myself have written specifically for the website. And, it's one thing to have backlinks to your website. It's another thing to have backlinks to your site that lead to valuable content, where someone who's looking for legal services will say, you know what, I read that article and I got value out of it. Whether or not I'm going to go ahead with the legal services, I got value out of that. I didn't just feel like I was sent to a link just so that this lawyer could increase their search rankings. Right?
Yeah. I think, you got to always think about the user and providing value there. I think it's really, really key. I mean, can you talk about like your take on how to write that valuable content? Because I feel like a lot of people think they're writing really valuable content, but it's still a challenge to rank, or, maybe the content isn't as dialed in as it needs to be. Like, what's your take on how to write really good, valuable content that can rank?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you really have to take a structured approach, right? You have the title tags H1, H2, H3.
Sure.
So before you've actually written the entire article, decide what the H1s, the H2s, and the H3s are going to be, if you can. And there's even AI softwares with GPT-3 now where you can put in titles and subtitles, and it'll actually spit something out. Sometimes it's usable, sometimes it's half usable, sometimes there's some content that say, oh, that would be good to bring in. But I think if you start from a perspective of making sure you have a good outline, and of course, always the constant tug of war between making sure that titles and subtitles have keywords, but then not overstuffing them, right? Yeah. You're going to have subtitles that are not going to be there. Some of them, at least, are not going to be there to rank, and are going to be there to provide good content. And so you might have some subtitles where perhaps it's a long tail keyword that maybe not a lot of people have searched for, or some people have searched for, but in combination with the rest of the article, Google will see this is very valuable. It's not just someone keyword stuffing, and it's someone bringing a unique perspective, but still talking about the relevant matters that Google would want to see for content, for pages that are ranking.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty interesting. So, you're starting with an outline and using some tools to also help inspire parts of the outline. What are some of those tools that you find valuable? Because AI is a real big debate right now. So I find it kind of intriguing that you're using some AI tools to help define a little bit of the starting part of the article, like how to organize it, or what kind of parts of the subject to make sure you don't miss. To actually, that seems like a pretty unique flavor versus just having AI write the whole thing.
Yeah. So one of the tools I use is Word Hero. It is one of the AI writing assistants. There are others that are similar to that. There's one called Writer. I'm a huge fan of AppSumo. I'm always buying these lifetime deals for for SEO tools. Word Hero I really like because you can put the title, then highlight it and say, based on this title, I want 50 words to be developed. You can put a subtitle. You can then click add more, add more, add more. And sometimes it tails off into a little bit of an unrelated content. But I really like how Word Hero is set up like that. But having any sort of AI writer, there's ones like Jasper where I don't know if they have a lifetime, or if they did, they don't have one anymore. They're a bit costly, but that one I've heard a lot of good stuff about. It's better to have an AI content assistant, whatever you want to call it, tool that you can rely on to inspire you, as you say, rather than just not having one and just going in blind. You don't want to rely on it too much. I don't think there are too many risks of plagiarism, or I would hope not. I've used some of those tools and taken some of the content from it. So I hope it doesn't lead to those concerns. But I know that if you're just relying on it wholesale, you can really miss out on putting in valuable tidbits that you as a lawyer or whatever professional you are able to put in that maybe you would know that the AI writer doesn't know. So use those tools, use them to inspire, but definitely make sure that when you have valuable tidbits that maybe this AI writer doesn't have, maybe there's some information that isn't broadly known online, include it in the article, because if it's something different and something that provides value, then again, when a user reads it, they're going to feel like, wow, this piece of content helped me out, not just, wow, this piece of content was meant to rank higher on Google.
Yeah. That definitely makes a lot of sense. You talked a little bit about, how to write content that gets links too in the beginning. And I kind of want to circle back on that. You talked a little bit about Quoted, a little bit about Haro. In my experience, I've just, I've put out like 50 Haro queries and received like one quote in an article. And so to me, it's almost like, how do I figure out where to spend my time on backlinks, and how do I make it useful? Because, I can't spend, all day writing 50 different queries and get one as a result. It's just too much, manual effort for a lot of people. I feel like Haro is one of those things where it's a little bit of a challenge to make sure you get a backlink or not. You talked about Quoted, a few other things like Twitter. Like, how are you finding these groups in Twitter? That sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, there's hashtags like PR requests, journal requests. And so I definitely focus more so on Haro, but you have to take a holistic approach, and you have to niche down. You have to, if someone's looking for a marketing expert, well, everyone thinks they're a marketing expert. But if someone is looking for someone in cannabis law, well, I have a few things to say that I think others might not have a perspective on. So definitely want to, on one hand, cast the net wide, but do it in a way where you're not replying to requests where there's probably 200 other people that are replying to it, unless it's something that is really tailored to your niche and that you think you can offer a unique perspective on.
Yeah, I think that's pretty helpful, of making sure you're niched down when you reply, and try to find some other alternative methods outside of Haro, like Quoted or these Twitter groups, to kind of supplement. Because if you're niching down on Haro, it's probably like, one or two requests a week that makes sense, or one or two a day versus, 50 in a week that you can respond to. So that's pretty helpful. That's pretty helpful. So, one thing I'm wondering is, like, what trends in general are you noticing in SEO right now that you're really excited about?
Well, I'm really excited about local. Sure. Local is very important, specifically as a lawyer, as a service provider. Google is relying on local indicators. They want to see content that is related to the locale in which you are providing services. And so that's very important. And so it's always interesting to see how Google expands the Google Maps and business listings, and how you can optimize those. And there's tons of different strategies out there. And you have to take a balanced approach. You can create citations, directory links, as well as reviews. Reviews are very key, especially reviews that make mention of keywords you want to target for, because Google will see that, hey, this person is obviously being used for these certain services, and that can have a tremendous impact on results. So I think local, and I think schema is also very important, whether that's making sure that your website has geotagged images, and all the pages have a specific schema, and you've put in tags. I really live at the intersection of the schema and the local, and I think that's the intersection where a lot of the smart optimization is going now.
Sure. So when it comes to, implementing some of these things like adding schema or getting, a client to do things that are going to help with their local profiles, where do you typically start with clients, and how do you get them to make the changes necessary?
Yeah, so you want to make sure you have a really good tool. So for our WordPress websites, we use Rank Math. And even just the free version of Rank Math is actually quite powerful. There are some schemas that you get as part of the pro version, but by and large, the free version provides a nice base. And one thing I'm really bullish on, you could say, is frequently asked questions, right? Frequently asked questions, or they don't need to be called FAQs; they can just be questions and answers that you have on the pages that you want to. Sure. That you want to rank. It will, if you set it up properly, those questions and answers may actually show up on your listing on Google, and can make the real estate, make you occupy more real estate, and can sort of increase the thought leadership that's attributable to your website. And who doesn't like consuming content in a question and an answer format, especially when it's questions that these people are looking to have answered. And so you take that with the legal side of things. And, I have clients and prospective clients say, you really have some good information out there. And it provides that level of trust. So I love FAQs because they not only add some thought leadership aspects to your listings on Google, and it'll make your real estate, your physical real estate, what you're taking up on the rankings, it'll enhance it, make it bigger, but it also provides content on your website, and you can get lost pretty easily on typing a question and an answer, and you can have a response that's very long. And long content, as long as it's relevant and you're not repeating things and it's not duplicating things every other sentence, it can be very, very helpful. One of the big ranking factors is how long your content is. And of course, you want to buffer it out with images. You geotag those images. You have alt tags. You have captions. You really want to take a holistic approach to developing content and developing the schema and the tags that go along with that, because all of those efforts matter. But content is king, and having lengthy content, again, that's not, you're not repeating things over and over again, like I just did. I'm repeating things over and over again right now. But in your content, when you have lengthy content that's valuable and that keeps people on the page, and Google sees will keep people on the page, those are all great ranking factors.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of intriguing where you have FAQs as part of the schema. Like, how many FAQs are you putting on a page? Are you doing this on typical like homepage landing pages, or what does it look like?
So yeah, I think the question schema is good for any types of pages. Particularly in the legal practice, you might have different pages for different types of law or different types of cases. And again, people like consuming text content in the form of questions and answers, specifically when it provides a value to them. So I think it can be helpful for home pages, but specifically for those sub pages where you might be targeting a specific geography as well as a specific service. You're going to be able to provide questions and answers that are tailored and that keep people on the page.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good point of like, well, where can you not put them? Maybe is more the question versus where can you put them? That's good.
And images are very important as well, making sure that that those are geotagged, that you have alt text, that you have the captions. But I'm a sucker for the frequently asked questions. It provides good value, and you can put it on many types of pages. It's like the Swiss Army knife of how you can make your content more fulsome, keep people on page, and have them think this is very valuable, and have those people not just ingest the content, but make the decision of, oh, I'm going to click on the call now button, or I'm going to fill out my information. It can really be the tipping point for that.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, one thing that I keep on wondering, I feel like you've got a really fresh take on stuff, but in the SEO industry, there's always so many trends. There's always so many people trying to like do this or do that. What do you think everyone in our space should stop doing though?
Well, I mean, there's certain backlinks that you don't want, right? It's quality over quantity. So you want to minimize the number of blog comment backlinks that you have. And so I would say stop going for low value backlinks. Certainly tier 2, tier 3, they can be helpful, but you want to focus on quality over quantity. And so that's why I like Hero, and I do like manual outreach. Sometimes that can be difficult, but there's so many services out there, helpful SEO services, let's say on websites like Legit, that I use. But on the other hand, it's a double-edged sword, because now there's also tons of services that might not be high value, tons of services where they'll say, we'll blast 3,000 backlinks in 1 second to your page. Well, you don't want to do that. So it's quality over quantity. There are some very good services out there. And so you want to make sure that you're selective with what services you're engaging with. And you want to focus on individual backlinks from high value websites, rather than try and get lots of backlinks from blog comments on spammy websites. I mean, I think it goes without saying, but I think it can be easy to fall into the trap of, oh, well, I can get X number of backlinks in one day. And so quality matters, and putting in efforts, long-term efforts, sustainable efforts to grow your website, using valuable content that's not just spun content. That's the name of the game.
Okay. I mean, I think the question I have about that is, do you have like a domain rating, cutoff, or, things like that? Or, where's your bar? I definitely get the like no blog comments and no spammy stuff, but between that and like high value stuff, I feel like there's a lot of gray area.
There's a lot of gray area. And so you have to look at different factors. There's and different websites will rank differently depending on the metric and who it's put out by. You have metrics that are put out by Moz, Majestic, Ahrefs. And so you sort of have to take a holistic approach and look at domains from multiple tools. One metric or criteria, I guess you could say, that I like to look at is spam score. I think there's a spam score metric put out by Moz, or perhaps it's Majestic, and that can tell you if a website is just something spammy, like maybe a PBN that is just very spammy, has lots of spam links, versus a high quality news website that is selective with who they backlink out to. And so, yeah, you need to take a holistic approach to that.
Cool, cool. And then, what do you think everyone in our space should start doing differently?
Start doing differently. Well, I think that SEO is very important, but I think you also have to combine that with other modes of internet marketing. So Google AdWords is something that I use all the time, as well as companies want to start looking into email marketing and SMS, because with SEO, that's, in a sense, you could say, the top of the funnel where people are finding your content. And when you get them on your website, you have the opportunity to get their phone number, their mobile number, or their email address, or both. And then from there, you can cultivate a relationship. For some services, people want information first, and they don't want to be suckered into a sale. They don't want to feel like they're being suckered into a sale. So for some service providers and for some verticals, you want to use SEO to bring people on your website. It might be hard to convert them into a sale to begin with, but if you nurture them with an email campaign or an SMS campaign, you can really earn their trust, and then hit them with a calendar schedule link or a page that talks about a specific offering. Maybe you're offering a discounted rate because they're a subscriber. And so I think plugging SEO into the other forms of marketing is really important.
All right, Harrison, I think we got a lot of great insight into how you do things differently, what things people should stop doing and start doing, and some really good tips and tactics and tools that really help you figure out how to rank better than some other people in the space. And so definitely want to give you some time to share what you're working on, how people can get in touch with you, and anything that you'd like to chat about.
So right at this very moment, I'm working at building up content and backlinks for my agency, Alan Aldous, as well as my law firm. And so I'm not going to use this as an advertisement, but we are taking on new clients at this time. We have the bandwidth, but I've been very grateful to work for clients and have had their trust in optimizing their websites. And one of the clients now, they're having a new website built, and so a big challenge is making sure we can retain the SEO juice when the website gets the new website goes live. And so that's something I'm working on now. And it's not the sexiest, not the most glamorous work, but new websites are always great, especially when they improve navigability and readability, and they keep people on page. And so it's not glamorous, but some work in SEO is keeping up with your gains and making sure that you're able to sustain them when there's a new website, when there's new service offerings by a company, when they move locations, because then you have to change all the citations. So that's a bit of the work that I'm working on now. Not the most glamorous, but I love it because it's always keeps you on your toes, and you always have to be on top of what's happening in search engine optimization and what updates Google is making to the algorithms.
Yeah, site migrations are always a high risk kind of thing, and a lot of people even in my space. So a lot of people actually come to us to do our staging versus production change analysis for site migrations itself. So I definitely know that site migrations are tough. There's a lot of different stuff, challenges when it comes to, well, are the URLs changing? What about the design changed? The navigability, like you talked about, the crosslinks are a big thing too, right? As well as, there's just so many factors that impact it. And I remember there was, even just getting the rel canonicals to make sure that those are the correct ones from your kind of development website to your production when you push it. So there's so much involved with that. It's one of the reasons SEO Radar was built, but I definitely understand the level of effort and how challenging that is. And definitely, what anybody, if they want to get in touch with you, to reach out to Alan Aldous, the PR company that you're president of. Is there any other places that you want people to reach out to you?
Oh, well, you can find my law firm website, harrisonjordanlaw.com, as well as the nftlawyer.ca. And that's another thing I do. I've done, at least with NFT law. It's a bit different than the other areas of law that I have. So I decided to create a new brand for it, a new website for it. And so it's always important to be very strategic with what you do. And so I very purposely created a second website for that. But those are the places where people can find me, as well as alanaldous.com.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. That's Harrison Jordan, and that's a wrap.